Alrighty, folks, I don't know if you have noticed, but it certainly feels like the mortgage industry is more and more excited about larger loans. What does that mean? It means they want to do loans that are 200,000. Now, again, that is the loan, not the property price or value. Why? Because that's where they make their money. It is the same amount of work to do a 100K loan or 150 as it is to do 200. And I have seen a large appetite for institutions moving away from small loans, which frankly is a problem for the one rental at a time community. Lots of one rental at a time fans are buying cash flow in the Midwest or the South, where the purchase price might only be 150. And thus this desire of Wall Street and other funds to only go after bigger loans is a huge disappointment. Jonathan, I know you see it out there. I know you see it in the industry. What is Convoy doing to combat this?
Yeah, so we actually onboarded a new investor that we've been talking to people that have been calling us on the channel about a new investor that has an appetite specifically for loan amounts below 150, below 200, right?
Loan amounts, just so I'm
Loan
clear.
amounts,
Loan
correct.
amounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the beauty of this one is we can go, I just priced out one this morning. It was at a $75,000 loan on an 80% purchase, right? So loan amount now we can go super low, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking about a normal $100,000 purchase price, which, you know, if you do 20% down there, it's an $80,000 loan, right? If you
Right.
do 25%, it's $75,000 loan. Those are now available on the DSCR side, especially because that was kind of the um unspoken rule of DSCR. A lot of the lenders didn't want, right?
No,
Anything
it's not profitable. It's not.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, and actually, from a number standpoint, a lot of these clients like to buy multiple, right, at a
Mm,
time. So the strategy before was let's group them all together and make them one big loan. But
okay.
that left out the people that were starting out investing or that had investments but could only afford to buy one at a time, right? One rental at a time. And this
Yeah.
kind of fills that gap and allows them to do that. The beauty
Yeah.
of this product, though, is you're not sacrificing that crazy on rates, right? The one that I had priced out this morning was with 20% down at like an $80,000 loan amount. It
Mhm.
was a 6.625
Really?
on a
I
30-year
thought you
fixed.
I thought you were gonna
Yep.
throw something out with a 7.
Yep.
And again, the people don't realize, again, a lender that goes down to this level, I thought they would make it up in rate, and I was gonna go, "Oh, he's gonna throw a 7." And you didn't. You 6.6.
Yep.
That's better than I expected for sure.
Yep. And then if you do like the $75,000 loan amount, it was like a 6.3 to 6.5. So like this is the first time that I've seen lower loan amounts not get hit as much for
Mm,
pricing than, across the board everywhere else. Right? Everywhere else, if you go smaller loan amount below 200, below 150, below 120, you
yeah.
start getting hit, right, on these different pricings because the lenders want to make their margins at least on these
Sure.
rates. But this is the first time we've seen it that there isn't that extra spread. There
Mm,
isn't that bake-in. And this allows, I think, a lot of more purchasing power in terms of making deals work better, right?
mm.
Even though the difference between a 6.6 and a 7 is probably like $80, right? On a loan amount like
Oh,
that.
I bet
But
you it's less than $80. It might
yeah,
be $37 or something.
yeah. But it's like the rents. I think what we've kind of realized is the rental amount. Like, if you're getting, let's say, $1,200 in rent, right? That
Yeah.
$40 difference can be like an
Oh, for
interest
sure.
reserve or something, within that field. So I think it fills that hole, and that's kind of been a very popular product. Obviously, we're not working for free, right? So there's origination, right? We're not writing free loans at these smaller dollar amounts,
No.
but the product is there for the people that want to take advantage of building their portfolio in this target market.
Yeah, it's got to be the number one thing I hear about in my school community or just on YouTube is, who can help me with, you know, sub six figure loans. And, I haven't really had this conversation in years, right? Everybody's been wanting to go bigger and bigger. And then it was over 100, and then it was over 150. Now it seemingly is over 200. To hear that there's an appetite there for the smaller loan is obviously very good to my ears. It's going to be good to my community's ears. But thus far, we've only talked purchase. I got to ask, does this also apply to refis, or are we just purchases at this point?
So the smaller, below 100,000 loan amount doesn't get the love of the cash out that above
Sure.
$100,000 gets.
Okay.
I think it's just because of a margin difference of risk, right? Because movement in the market.
Sure.
So the maximum cash out below 700 or below $100,000 loan amounts is 75%. However,
Mm.
now we're writing a lot of debt, which is interesting because the same fund will write debt above $100,000 at 80% cash out. So
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I heard what you said.
yeah,
So let's take some rough numbers. So let's say it's a 140K property. No, it can't be. So let's just say it's a 100K property.
mhm,
Yeah, whatever. So because it's a 100K property, the maximum cash out LTV you could do today would be 75K with this provider. Is that correct?
correct,
But you could get a 75K cash out refi.
correct.
That's encouraging because again, there's a lot of people that bought properties in the Midwest that are at 80 and 90K values today that probably have 30 or 40K loans. So they could double their loan amount, get some dry powder, and move forward. So, okay, so that's that. However, if the property was valued at, let's just say again for easy math, 150, you could do a 120 cash out because that would be 20%. Am I doing my math right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, so that makes sense. So again, for the audience, if you have a cash out refi where the equity or the loan amount would be over six figures, you can go to 80%. If it's under six figures, you would go to 75.
Yep. Exactly.
Interesting. All right.
It's
Well, I
it's a
imagine you're going to
whole
get a lot of phone calls off that one.
yeah, it's a whole new world, and I think the beauty of this leverage is for the longest time, DSCR obviously capped out at 75, and
Yeah.
we were doing 80% here and there. But now we're doing 80% across the board. And the pricing on this 80% isn't even that bad, right? If
Hmm.
it's a single family residence, it's like without buying down on a 5-year prepay, it's like 6,875, 699
Yeah.
on a 30-year fix. And then if you're doing multifamily, like 2 to 4 unit, 80% is like 699 to 7 1/8, like
Wow.
7.125. So
Yeah.
if maximizing liquidity is your priority, this is not a bad product to have, right?
No, it's a frankly a hole in the market. I'll tell you this, it's a hole in the market. And actually, I didn't think it'd get fixed. I
Hmm.
just assumed sub 100K would not be interesting, to someone. And because, and that's probably why this person jumped in because they're just going to eat all by themselves. There's going to be no competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest barrier to entry, though, right, for these smaller loan amounts has always been the ability to kind of match closing cost with the loan amount, like
Yeah.
make it was it worth it, right?
It's gonna look weird, right? Because
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
because
From a percentage standpoint,
yeah, it's gonna look weird. Yeah,
yeah,
of course,
yeah,
right? Because again, like you said earlier, you're not doing these for free. And if there's not a big number there, you got to get I don't know what it's called, origination or loan,
yeah,
whatever
correct,
it's
yeah,
called.
yeah.
You got to pay for your overhead somehow. You're not a charity.
Yeah, exactly. But there's strategies right now that we've been running for a lot of smaller loan amount borrowers, where obviously the starting rate is very aggressive, like mid sixes. If you're doing 20% down on a single family is very aggressive. So
Mm.
there's the option to potentially take a little bit of a higher rate, kind of like how the conventional lenders do
Yeah,
it,
right.
and
Yeah.
then kind of get credit for that. Or if you're thinking about buying this property and set it and forget it, which I think, and you can correct me if you think differently, but I think if
Mhm.
you're sub 150 and you have a six handle on your rate,
Yep.
I think it's a set it and forget it type
Oh,
model.
for sure. I mean, yeah. I
I
mean,
think you can just set it and forget it.
no, if you're a small dollar amount loan like this and you have a six handle, it would not be economically viable for you to refi unless you got something in the fours. This
Yeah,
whole idea about if it's 1% difference, it's good. That doesn't work on small loans. It just
yep,
doesn't work.
yeah.
So yeah,
So I think
set it,
this is
forget it.
it. Yeah, so you could set it and forget it from the beginning, right? So it's like if you're thinking from a 30-year fixed, or how if you want to pay it off early, you can, right? So
Right.
let's say a 15-year window because the loan amount's smaller. you just make that, let's say, the cost up front, which by the way, most people forget about after they close the loan, right?
Yeah.
They
It's a
don't ever
one-time
like think
thing. Yeah.
they don't ever think about it again. But once that's in there, you can be confident knowing that, okay, going forward, I know what my cash flow is going to be. I know my cash flow is going to continue to increase over the
Mhm.
years,
Yep.
but at least I have debt for 30-year fixed with a six handle that allows
Right.
me to pay it off if I want to in 30 or 15.
Yeah.
And it's dependable debt. It's not like going to be traded and switched, arm flipped, nothing. Dependable debt that you can pay down,
Yep.
and it'll allow you to kind of estimate your net cash flow better, right, from a
I
portfolio
love that.
standpoint.
I love
Yeah,
that. Something else we talked about offline, again, it was something, we talked about for Olivia and I, but you also have this thing called global debt coverage. I didn't really understand what that was. That was a new term for me. Why don't we just throw it in here and educate people what it is and how it might be helpful for some folks?
for sure. I mean, for most people that have been in the commercial space, they already kind of know what this is, right? Because global debt coverage is an underwriting standpoint that a lot of banks will use
Hmm.
sometimes, which is mixing in their mind, which mixing in personal income with rent. So
Right.
putting those two together and then making sure that you have a global debt coverage of, 1.25 or 1.1, whatever it is, right? So banks use it to underwrite right now for some commercial debt. What we're looking at from the residential side is we're calling it global debt coverage, but it's more so you have assets and then you have your real estate, right? Assets as in like stocks, portfolios, and then you have your income and whatnot. And you also have other real estate properties with a lot
Hmm.
of equity sitting on them. So what we can do and what we're trying to do, and we're still kind of finalizing the guidelines for this, is to merge them together so that it allows your debt coverage. Let's say you bought an underperforming asset.
Hmm.
You now don't have to take a lesser quality loan just because your debt coverage in the interim of while you're trying to make it better is lower than,
Right.
like, let's say 100% debt coverage. We can fill that in with, let's say you have a $500,000 stock portfolio. We can fill that, be like, okay, you have the assets to show that obviously if you wanted to, you could pay this house off cash, right?
Right.
But you have the asset, let's mix it in with the debt coverage to get you at, let's say, 100% debt coverage. So you're not getting hit with the pricing for being below 100% debt coverage.
I like it.
And yeah, and mixing those things together along with other properties, like cross collateralizing other properties to make the debt overall debt coverage of that portfolio fit,
Mm.
I think is kind of a strong tool that will open up a little bit of a door of clients to not take less quality debt for
Right.
properties that are a little underperforming during the time of, getting it up.
Yeah, you're basically getting credit for the entire portfolio versus an individual asset,
Exactly.
which sometimes there are timing issues and all of that. So I like that. That's obviously what I would consider at least a semi, if not an advanced strategy. And anybody thinking about that's got to reach out to Convoy Home Loans. How do you want them to do that?
Yeah, go to convoyhomeloans.com and let us know you came from ORAT. Or if you go on the app or download it from the Google Play Store or Apple Store or online, there's ORAT. You could click that button and then it'll immediately, filter through to Dustin and myself.
Yep. Again, folks, if you let them know you came from ORAT, you get this fine gentleman or his partner, Dustin. And if you don't, you just end up in a queue. And let's be honest, you're better than that. You don't belong in queues. Go to the top. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.